Welcome to Grow and Go with M. Tyler, where we gather together with the aim of growing in our relationship with God, growing in our understanding of who He is and who we are in light of that, so that we can go into the fullness of all He is calling us to. Sometimes I'll be chatting with guests as we learn from their stories. Other times it'll be me sharing messages I've preached or the inner workings of how I'm growing and going in the current season. But whatever we're doing, it's all for the glory of God and the good of others. So pull up a chair, enjoy your drive, get the cleaning done, or whatever else you want to do while listening. And let's get ready to grow and go. Today on the podcast, we have Brittany Estes, and she has been coaching and championing women for over 10 years. She is a professional and certified life coach who has worked in large churches, utilizing her coaching and speaking skills. Brittany is a dynamic speaker full of spunk and personality, and boy, are you going to discover that today. With the God-given talent for entertaining and the uncanny ability to engage an audience, she will have the crowd laughing, in tears, or maybe even both. Brittany loves to be real and honest, and she has a passion for people with a desire to see lives change. I had the delight of meeting Brittany a couple of years ago, and I have to tell you that this is a conversation I have been looking forward to, and you will understand why when you get to meet my friend Brittany. So Brittany, thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So for those listening that maybe don't know you or don't know anything about you, paint us a picture of what day-to-day life might look like, fully recognizing that I'm going to guess no 2 days are the same, but just give us a little insight into your world.
Well, it's funny you should say that because we literally are meeting and chatting at 7 a.m. my time. So like my morning starts at 6 a.m. We get up. I have 8 children, so that's chaos, hence why my days don't ever look the same. But I have to help get kids ready. So by 6:30, I was telling you earlier, I have 5 kids out the door and off to high school. After that, the next round of kids I have to help get ready that are going to middle school, and they leave by like 6:50 out the door. And then I have like a lull where, fun fact about me, I'm learning French via Duolingo.
Me too. I love that.
No way.
Oh, yes. Yeah. How many days have you got a streak?
You have a streak. I'm quite proud of it. I have 126 days.
I love that.
The irony
Do you know,
is I started learning French when I came back from Paris, not before. So I was like, I love the language. I want to learn it. Maybe one day I'll go back.
Yeah, maybe that could happen. I too am learning French on Duolingo at the moment, and I am also very proud of my streak. I have a streak of 170 days.
Look at you go.
I know, but here's the thing. Have I read my Bible for 170 days in a row? And this got me thinking. I was like, why is it that I can do French every day, but I can't always open my Bible? So to be fair, when I had that thought and realization, since that moment, which I'm not sure when it was, I have been a lot more regular with my time in the Word. Yeah. I would not say perfect, but I was just like, isn't that really interesting?
Into this podcast, and you just cut me deep. Dang, girl, that was a good point. That was so good.
But isn't that true? Like gamify the Bible. Somebody please give me a streak that I can tick off, and then I need
credit. I need Dual to come up there and give me the stank face if I'm about to lose.
That's the thing, right?
Like
the little owl with his little eyes and the fire behind him. It's like quite a lot.
Oh yes,
quite a lot.
I know. Yeah, and then the excitement, like when it goes like you got the answer right. You're just like I feel like I'm winning
a genius. Yeah. Oh, so good. Okay, great. So now that we've got like past about 7 o'clock with Duo, and then what happens?
Right. Then about 7:30, I wake up another kid and get them ready and out the door by 8:30. And then by usually that time I head to work. So I am at church. I work as a women's pastor at a local church. The cool thing about that is my husband also works at the same church as the children's pastor there. So we literally drive to work together. I get to plan amazing events and Bible studies and book studies, and just get to honestly do what I do online. I do here in person for our community. And then after a full day of that, I come home and I'm like, cool, now let's tackle all the children home homework and things like that. Right now I'm in the middle of a book launch. So that kind of chaos and, okay, what does this look like? Hence a 7 a.m. recording for a podcast after I get kids out the door. But yeah, it takes a lot of planning or things fall through. Yeah. And I'm not the best planner, but I'm learning to be one.
I think planning absolutely is a skill and something that should be celebrated. I'm quite administrative in nature, and so I'm quite good at planning. But what I'm less good at is spontaneity and like in the moment going, hey, let's be wild, let's do this thing. And I feel like you and your husband kind of have that down just from the little glimpses that we see into your life from social media and whatnot. I want to be your neighbors, you know, I want to move in next door just so that like I'd get like swept up in the like madness and delight and joy. And in all the chaos, I think it looks so much fun. So much fun. We are going to spend a bit of time talking about your book launch today. This is actually the second book that you're releasing, and it is closely related to your first. Now, your first book was Flip the Script. I keep looking to the side, not that anyone can see me, because I have it here on my desk, and it's brilliant. It's all about how we manage our inner dialogues and those narratives that maybe sometimes take over and lead us down squirrely little paths that are not life-giving and great. And it's called Flip the Script. But your second book that is due to come out shortly, do you want to just tell us the title and why it is linked to the first and what its purpose is?
Yeah. So the second book is actually called Glow Up, A Teen's Guide to Flipping the Script. And before even the first book was published, I started talking to my editors about the idea of what if we could change this book, the current one that was coming out, Flip the Script, into something that could help the younger generation. Because the heart behind my first book, Flip the Script, was how do we stop these things? Like help my generation and younger understand the lies that we're believing and flip them and replace them with God's truth, so then we can live a brighter life. And as that book came out, there were so many women who were like, I wish I knew this 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I mean, men were saying the same thing. And I was like, that's it. Why are we hitting this age group? Why can't we start younger so they don't have to waste 20 years of their life wishing and thinking and believing things that aren't true? So I took all the basic concepts, changed it around, made it relevant for that age group. And honestly, I shifted it a little more. This is something I don't think you know, Em, about this book, is there are, it's actually interactive in the sense of there's spots for them to write their own things.
So good.
There's declarations throughout the whole book for them to memorize and to know, but it's a chance for them to take the actual book and work through it and not just read it. So I found with the first book, it was so healing for women to like put into practice what they were learning, not just read it, close the book and be done with it. Do it in groups, write it out. What does this actually mean? Like, what is my actual lie in this moment? And then what does that look like to flip it? Or if I gave them an activity in the book, which I do in Flip the Script, and I'm also doing in Glow Up, I give them tangible things to walk away after they read the chapter. Now try this. So sometimes I'll have them, what does that look like? What does that mean for you? And stuff. So it's been really cool to see the shift. I've had a few teens read it and like as test subjects, like, do we still agree this is relevant? You like this? But it's really exciting. And I think the idea is let's hit them now so they can live a bright and beautiful future. Because I truly believe that this next generation has the capability to change the world. And I think Satan knows that. And so he's playing really hard for their mind. And what if we helped give them the tools to not be a part of that battle any longer, you know?
Amazing. That's so good. I find that often when I'm preaching a message or sharing a message in some form that it's most authentic and most powerful when I've had to live it. And I suspect that with writing a book on a topic of dealing with your thoughts and managing to submit them to Christ and take them captive and be transformed by the renewing of your mind, maybe didn't just kind of come to you because you were like, oh, hey, that would be a good idea. So is there, or have there been stories in your own life where you had to walk this out and you had to learn this for yourself that then led to going, here is the freedom that I want to now pass on to others?
Absolutely. There's so many. When I wrote the first book, I would talk to people about it. And I'd say, you know what, there was a time in my life, which is complete truth, where I felt beat down. We were at a church. My husband was a pastor there. And there was one day that one of the pastors came on staff or came and talked to him in his office and was like, you better get your wife under control. Or if you don't get her under control, then you won't have a job. And my husband was kind of like, wait, what was she doing? What was so bad? And it was this weird and crazy thing because it wasn't even really in and of itself the issue. The problem was just his own personal issues. But what it made me feel like is there's something wrong with me, that I wasn't good the way I was. I was doing something wrong. And I literally like hid and became a recluse. And everything that I did, like I posted on social media, I'd be like, babe, is this okay if I post this? Is this okay if I wear this to church? Because I was so worried that my actions would cost our whole entire family our livelihood. And I just hid. And I don't know. I mean, I think you know me now. And like, I'm a bright person. I'm loud. Like I have a rainbow hanging behind my wall from a ray of sunshine. I have pink hair. Like I have all of these things, but at the heart of it, I love God. And I believe that he's created me this way to just be free, because when I'm free, other people can find freedom as well. And I think in that moment, I just hid and I believed all these things on what I should be, what it should look like to be a pastor's wife, what it should look like to be a mom. And I hid for the longest time. And that was a very long process that it took me to kind of, with the Lord, figure out what that looks like, to walk in freedom, to understand that there are times that I mess it up and I make it about myself and I shouldn't make it about myself. But he's going to be really good about bringing me back and be like, no, cool, Brittany, that's not what we're doing. And so in that, I was like, got to be other people who are feeling the same way. Like, let me help them. I thought that was the beginning of the battle. Let me just be honest. Then when I went to release my first book about like mental flipping the scripts and things like that, I had to fight it all over again. Like I would sit and tell my husband like, oh, this is so dumb. Why am I even writing this? And he's like, man, it's like someone wrote a book about this. I wonder if you should read their words. And I was like,
darn it. Check your face.
Right.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So many times I have ended up being preached to with my own words by my husband. And it's the most annoying thing. You just want to be like,
oh,
shush,
absolutely.
why were you listening and paying so much attention? Pipe down.
My kids do the same thing too. They're like, Mom, you should flip the script. I'm like, nobody asked you.
Simmer down. Don't you have homework? So how, for maybe those of us who do struggle with this, and I think that's really helpful to say that you wrote the book and then you still had to put it into practice. It wasn't like this.
Absolutely.
Okay, now I've learned the tools and I never have to do it ever again. I'm done. Tick that box off. It's a continual need to kind of just check our thoughts and whether the things that we're telling ourselves and that we're listening to internally are true or not. So do you have any top tips for how to recognize when maybe our thoughts are not fully healthy or they're not things that maybe Jesus would say to us?
Yeah. One of my biggest ones is, well, first of all, we do it all the time to ourselves. And I don't think we recognize, like, there'll be a moment like you're carrying something and you trip and fall. You're like, oh, such an idiot. Like, hold on. Do you realize what you just spoke about yourself? It was a flippant comment that you say it doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't matter much, but it actually truly does, because what you're saying is, this is who I am. And you're remembering those things, whether in that moment you're consciously remembering them. But it's funny because over time that builds up and it's like building a case against yourself. And so in the moment that something big happens, all of a sudden, all these other things throughout your life pop up and you remember. It's almost like a flashback, like of all the things. So let's take something small like, oh, I'm such an idiot. And we do this in my house. Like we call it out now and tell like, let's stop that. We need to flip that script. But the biggest and probably easiest way is to say, if you can follow that statement with "in Jesus' name" and it sounds correct, then it's a good statement. If you can follow it up with "in Jesus' name" and it does not sound correct, then maybe we should address it. So I'm such an idiot, in Jesus' name.
Not so much.
I don't think that that's something that if he were sitting in front of us, he would say, or he would say about his creation and his chosen child. And no, not it. So if you can do that and it sounds wrong, then we know we have something to address. And at that point, then it's a deeper work. But what's the truth in that statement? I messed up, but I messed up. I'm human. It's okay. Or it was silly. I just tripped. Like, we put weight on things that don't need to be so heavy because there's this assumption that perfection is the goal. And I think when we take perfection out of the mix and we say, I'm doing the best that I can, or I'm doing whatever, like I'm striving to have a heart like Jesus, then that's a whole different story. So I think just initially finding out what that statement is and then saying, all right, let's go from there.
Yeah, I love that. Something that I've kind of come across, because we have a bit of overlap in this space.
We do
run a course we do, which is why it's so fun to chat. And I've run a course called Believe the Best, and it is also about how we take these thoughts captive. And I think something that I've noticed over the years as well is sometimes there's actually physiological things going on in your body before the thought even pops into your head, right? So maybe your shoulders get really tense, or you're holding your breath. You know, there's some sort of tension, or it's a big sigh, like, and then you say, I'm such an idiot, or whatever. And if we can start to recognize what those things are and just interrupt them, it allows us to take that step back and hold the thought out in front of us and assess it. They call it metacognition, where we're thinking about our thinking and just go, is this something that I want to continue thinking? Is it going to lead to life? Is it going to lead to freedom? Is it going to lead to the things that Jesus says he wants for me? Or, like you say, is it going to lead us away from him and further down the path? And if I love that. If I can't say in Jesus' name to the thought that I am assessing and looking at, then let's trash it. Let's get rid of that. We don't need that. So in your books, they're full of hilarious stories. They're full of biblical truth. They're funny. It's great. I just, Brittany is your friend that you want to sit down and say, so what did you get up to at the weekend? Because trust me, it won't be whatever you expect it might be. But they're full of all these different stories and color and energy and encouragement. When a reader gets to the end, and it may be different for your adult flip the script or for your teens with Glow Up, but when they get to the final page and they close the book, what do you want them to be feeling?
I want them to be proud, like a victory lap. I have this picture in my head of just this girl and her arms up in the sky, like I did it, like here it is, and almost like this lighter, okay, knowing that it's a daily thing. You're gonna have to repeat these things, but almost a sense of, I know what to do now. Like I know how to succeed. I know where to go. If I do struggle, I know how to win that. But just this moment, that's what I hope for them.
I love that. I love that. Just to be equipped and to know that they're not a failure if they then have a negative thought in the future. Because that's the thing, right?
Oh,
you could read the book and be a bit like, okay, great, now I know what to do. And then the next time that comes to trip you up, or one of these thoughts pop into your mind, be thinking, oh, I should know better by now because I read the book. But to go, no, now I'm equipped. Now I'm equipped and I know what to do.
And I've actually had people say like, gosh, I know I read your book, but I'm like, no. Like this is one of those where you go back through it and you're like, okay, I remember she said something about worth. What was that? Let me go back and do that. It's not a one and done kind of deal. And I'm very open in the book saying like, it's a day by day thing. It gets easier. And I think you would agree. And like, there's times where you're like, I'm not tripped up by that, or I'm not tripped up by this. Like I own that, but then it pops up in a different way. And you're like, okay, cool. Now how do I address this? Like I have the tools. I didn't realize this was an issue. Now I know it's an issue. Let's go from there kind of thing.
Yeah. And so much of it is about putting truth in to replace the lies, right? So where you're talking about flipping the script, it's like, what is the truth? So for somebody who maybe struggles to like get into God's word or kind of feel like they know what God would say, what would be your top tips for being able to discover his voice or learn what his truth and the things that he would say is about a person?
Well, that's a really good question. And this is going to sound really trite. Grab the book, because I've actually put script flips in there, like simple, basic things like your lie. So we say old script, new script. Your lie, your old script is I'm not enough. Well, then the new script is I am blah, 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 blah. And it has scripture right there. And I encourage my readers, hey, grab this, write out the truth, put it in a little notebook that you carry with you. Because I think a lot of people are intimidated by the Bible. There's a lot to look through. There's a lot, they don't know where to go, what's for them in the sense of what is God saying to me? We know his word is good, alive and active, all these things, but like what in this moment, where's my truth? And I think going to something like that is super easy. I've done the hard work for you. I've searched it out. Start there at those places. And as you repeat those things over yourself, I tell women all the time, stand in the mirror and say it over you. What is the truth? Yeah. What is the truth? Say it again and again. And it feels so silly and it feels crazy that you're doing it. But all of a sudden there's a moment where it kind of hits and you kind of smile at yourself and you're like, I am this. I am that. I am this. God says this about me, that it feels different and you start to believe it. Like you were talking about physiological things in your body, you almost relax into it. And there's a sense where your shoulders kind of come back and you're like, come at me, Satan. This is who I am.
Yeah.
Kind of
Come on then. Yeah. I love that. And for those moments where imposter syndrome rises up, do you have like a go-to pep talk or a go-to truth that would be your kind of number one, like, this is who God says I am, or this is what I know to be true?
I actually have created an entire statement for myself. I wish I had it on me, but it's a series, like I am Brittany Estes. I am the pride and joy of heaven. I am a sparkler in the hands of God. I'm a spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down. I am a chaser of the one, the defender of truth. And I've forgotten the last part of it, but basically my heart beats in tune with the Father. I am a giant slayer. And it's just kind of things that I felt. I've sat with the Lord and he has said, this is who I say you are. And so in moments when I feel like I'm not such and such, whatever big name person is out, I'm not this. He's like, you're not, but this is who you are. You are Brittany Estes. You are such and such. And I just have to say those over and over again. And it just helps me remember, this is my path. This is my vision. I can do what they can't. They can do what I can't. And that's totally okay. And I have to continue to put myself in that perspective, if that makes sense.
I think something that a lot of women struggle with is either, I think they fall into either end of the spectrum, like either they feel they are too much. So too much for other people, like too loud, too outgoing, too in your face, too courageous, too bold, or that they're the other end of the spectrum, they're not enough. And that they do need to, like you were saying, like hide away because there's shame involved and just, not enough, too much and not enough. How do you help somebody embrace being exactly who God has made them to be with confidence without looking to the left and right and saying, well, I'm too much or I'm not enough?
Yeah. The irony is I have felt both of those things. And for most of my life, I felt too much. I mean, I'm not the norm, and it has taken a lot of that long, hard work to understand who I am. And in my book, I talk a lot about comparison, and I share my stories of this is what it looks like. My life looks nothing like anyone else's. But I think the moment that you start to be okay with those things and you start to embrace them, it's almost like people appreciate and like that version better. And they like that version better because there's something in you that says, like, you're living in truth and who he created you to be. And as you start shining in that truth and that freedom of this is me, because I think the thing that we forget is the Lord is so, like, he looks down and says, oh my gosh, Brittany, I love to watch you shine like this because he created you that way. And so as you spark joy in the things that you do and live out, he's like, oh, there she is. Oh my gosh. Like, if you're a parent, when you see your kids do what sets their heart on fire, you're just like, okay, oh my gosh, it's so fun. Whether it's your cup of tea or whatnot, you're just like, yeah, that's you. That's my child. Way to go, kid. And I feel like that's what the Lord does too. And when you operate and live in that, all of a sudden it doesn't It doesn't matter. You don't care what they're doing. You're like, this is me. And when you live like that, like, this is me, then other people are like, but what about you makes you okay to be you? Like, what about you does shine this certain way? And then it gives them the ability to say, okay, but who am I? Who does God say that I am? I don't need to be like you. I don't need to be like you, but who does he say that I am? And as you work through that, it becomes a beautiful thing. I guess, did I answer that correctly?
Yes.
In the way
you did. Absolutely, you did. I would love to focus a little bit more on Glow Up now, because as you say, these are messages that we need to know as women right now. Whatever generation you are, you need to know this truth. You need to know that, who God made you to be is awesome. Does it look like the person next to you? I hope not, because he's made you unique. Our teens, as they are growing up in this crazy world that we live in, are facing so many different challenges that our generation didn't have to face. As you are discipling and watching and raising your own children, and you said that your husband's a youth pastor as well, right? So front row seat across like lots and lots of kids and young people. What do you think are their biggest challenges for young people growing up in today's world?
Well, being honest, technology is probably the biggest thing against them. Phones and social media. So I put in my book, there's a statistic. Oh, I can't say that word. Statistic. Where 63% of teen girls from 1 month of being on social media have a decrease in self-esteem and worth. 63%. 1 month. Just 1 month of being on social media. And so we're giving these kids these tools like right at their fingertips, where they can see the comparison, what they are, what they're not. They can feel left out by someone else not inviting them to something that they wanted to be, like things that we didn't have to deal with. We didn't know who didn't invite us to this party until later, potentially. Now they see it online. They're constantly weighing themselves against things like that. And that's probably one of the biggest things against this generation. Trigger warning. The second leading cause of death in 13 to 24-year-olds is suicide. And I think a lot of that has to do with their mental mindset and the things that they're just pouring in. And it's huge and that's devastating. I sit and see kids all the time work through that. And it's hard for us as adults to fight it for them when we don't know ourselves, if that makes sense. Like if we aren't equipped and we don't know truth, then we can't show it to them. And I think the biggest way to show it to them is living it out in our own lives and calling it out. Because when we say things to them, they discredit it. Oh, it's the worst thing in the world. My kids are like, whatever. They don't really necessarily care about what I say, but they care about what I do and how I live it out. And so I can't tell them this is truth when I don't believe it. I can't be like, your body is good. What are you talking about? You're not fat. You're not ugly. And then I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have such a huge nose. Or, oh, I need to lose some weight. Because that's what they're seeing and they're believing from me as truth, not what I'm telling them.
Yeah. I did a little vision creative board for 2025 with a friend, and I'm going to have to just turn around to look at it because there's a quote on it. Oh, here it is. How you speak matters more than the words that come out.
Ooh, that's good.
And it's exactly that. People are watching the choices that we make and how we spend our time. So if we say to our kids, like, you're the most important thing in my life, and then we're always at work, then they might not think that. And so
that's good. Yes.
I think it's exactly that. And I'm just aware as well. I went to an all-girls school growing up. And so image and food and, body image was a big issue for many. And I can remember when my daughter was born just going, oh, I'm going to have to get healed on this. I'm going to have to figure this stuff out because she's going to watch me growing up and she's going to listen to the words I say. And if I'm, as you say, always talking negatively about myself or my body, then that's just going to become her language. It's going to pass on from generation to generation, and I don't want that. And so in the same way for, being able to celebrate who we are as individuals, if we want our young people to be able to be confident and celebrate themselves, is huge as well. And if you could go back and visit teenage Brittany, what things would you want her to know?
I think I'd want her to know that this is not all there is. I think it's really easy when you're a teenager to think that this is the biggest and craziest season of your life. Like everything matters. It's paramount. But there's so much more out there. I think I'd want her to know that she's going to do incredible things. Like she doesn't feel like she fits where she's at, and that's okay because there's more coming. I think I wish that she would know that she doesn't have to hide who she is. She doesn't have to dull her light at all. She doesn't have to feel bad about being excited about all the things all the time.
Yay!
That's actually okay.
Confetti.
Yeah, right? Oh my goodness. I saw a quote the other day. It was like this. Mom was talking to the kid and the 8-year-old was like, can I, he's in the car and he's like, can I throw confetti in the car? And she's like, no, why would you ever throw confetti? He's like, it's my emergency confetti. I have it in case someone tells me some good news. And I'm like, that is my life. I have confetti.
These are my people
in my office right now. Right.
I love that.
Those are some things that I would tell her, like, hold on. I know you feel gross about what this is, but it will get better. And this is not truth. Like, you are actually incredible. You are amazing. So,
yeah, I think one that I would tell my younger self, and indeed my today self, because it's still one that I'm learning again and again, is that you don't have to earn love. You don't have to work for your worth. You know, like as I mentioned, I went to an all-girls school and I loved school and it was great while I was there. But the messaging that came to us from the top down was very much like, you girls are going to conquer the world. You're going to be the prime ministers. You're going to do all these things. And it was all about what we were going to do. It was all about the things that we were going to achieve. It was all about productivity. And there was a huge element of striving attached to it. And I would say that it's only really been within the last 5 to 10 years, if that I've started to go, Jesus just wants to hang out with me. I don't even have to do anything for him. He just likes to see my face. And just I would just want to say to a younger me, and indeed I've got some amazing teens that I've had the privilege of walking alongside who are also go-getters and firecrackers and incredibly capable young women, but also the pressure that we put on ourselves to do all the things and be all the things and juggle all the things and have it all. Yeah. And then, you know, as you get older, you know, be a brilliant mom and a fabulous wife and an amazing, you know, fitness guru and a fabulous cook and do an incredible job, plus probably an entrepreneur at the same time and fix my dog's anxiety, you know, all the things that you've got. And you're just like, actually, none of this is making me closer to the love that God has already lavished upon me. And I sometimes need to just stop and receive it rather than with the best intentions in the world trying to earn it or trying to like show God that I love him by what I'm doing, you know? And that's just
absolutely
where I might go with my younger self. With okay, I did give you a heads up for this question because I think it's maybe the most important question. If Glow Up had a theme song, what would it be?
Listen, okay, so you asked that question. I was like, that is genius. I do actually have a playlist for Glow Up. So I had one for Flip the Script and I created one for Glow Up of songs that I listened to when I wrote it, songs that just help you flip the script, songs that I love and run to. So when you first asked that question, the song that came to mind was Roar by Katy Perry.
Okay.
I love that song.
Great song.
And it's just more of the anthem, like, come at me, like, we're doing this, I know who I am kind of thing. Then I was like, okay, let me sit in this for a second. What do I think? Is that true? But I also love the I Can't Stop the Feeling by the Trolls song.
The Trolls.
And I was like, maybe that is actually it.
Because that's got the glitter and everything, right?
Right.
Yes.
And it's like the dancing and the disco ball, and you're like, I can't find it. Like, I can't do it. And I think that's it. Like, when you feel that freedom and you know who you are, like, there's just this sense of, let's go. Like, can't stop this feeling. Like, something inside of me knows. And when you know, man, it's beautiful. It's so freeing. It's so fun.
I love that. When you speak, you bring like all the energy and all the joy and all the life to your messages and to whatever it is that you're sharing. Do you have a pre-stage, pre-message kind of routine or like get in the zone moment?
Yeah. Okay. You might be very disappointed by this.
We'll find out.
I know it's going to sound not fun. I carry the weight of whatever message I'm doing. Like, it's heavy. I mean, I love it. There's nothing more fun for me than getting on a stage and being able to connect with an audience and then tell them God's truth. But anytime before I go on, I just feel the weight of that. And so I have to kind of get by myself and I center in, like, I'm not talking to you. We're not doing this. I'm very social. Yeah. I'm very fun, but I'm like, nope, we cut this off. I'll maybe listen to worship music. My husband always prays for me before I go on stage and speak. It's kind of like our thing. So if we're in person, he'll hug me and just pray over me. If not, he'll call me and pray over me before that happens. Just to be like, this is it. Like,
what a man. What a keeper.
Thing. I know. He's the best. That. He really is. And then I just kind of like, all right, let's go. Thing. So it's not like, there's no hype music. There's no whatever. I literally have to like shut it all down to then be like, let's go. And then when I go, I'm like, all right, Lord, I need you to do what only you can do. You know what you're working with. So let's do it well.
You put me here, so you got to show up. I love that. One of my absolute favorite, I think, I don't really have like a pre-speaking routine per se, but I do have a verse that I come back to again and again whenever I get to share truth, whether it's in like a small group setting or whether it's like 2 or 3 people, or whether it's in front of a larger crowd. And that's Isaiah 55:11. And God is speaking and he says, so it is with my word. It goes out and it always accomplishes what I purpose for it. And it does not return to me empty or null or void, depending on the translation that you're reading. And I just remind myself that if I am true to the things that are in his word and that he is saying, his word will go out. It's not about me. It's not about the delivery or,
Absolutely.
And for sure, I love to have fun when I'm on a stage or connecting with people or speaking as well, because I think the joy of the Lord should be evident in believers, right? Do you know the song, like an old song? It's like, I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart.
Yes.
Where?
Oh, yes, I do.
And then everyone's like, down in my heart, where? And I just had this moment recently where I was just like, that joy should not be so far down in a Christian that everybody else around them is going, where? I can't see that.
Where?
Like, you speak of this joy?
No,
where? And so, I love to bring the joy and the fun and a bit of cheekiness and all the rest of it. But you're right. There's a weightiness to being able to share truth, knowing that it is powerful and that it can transform lives and that it can bring freedom and it can break off bondage and particularly break off lies or just things that people have been believing that are not true and all the rest of it. And so just the freedom to know it is not my words that is going to change these people. It is the word of the Lord. It is the Holy Spirit at work, bringing his word to life and the promise that it will not return to him empty. Hello, I'm here for that. I don't understand why everybody wouldn't want to be a speaker. So it's the best thing ever. Okay. You've touched on this already. In your email signature at the very bottom, you have a phrase, which I think is a message translation of a verse about bringing out the God colors in this world. Give us a little insight. What does that look like for you in a practical day-to-day way? How are you shining for Jesus? And it's the message translation, isn't it? Bringing out those God colors.
So I love that verse. I looked it up a few years ago and it's Matthew 5:14-16, but in the message translation, like it's talking about shining your light so others can see and don't hide it. He's asking you to put it on a hill. But in the message translation, it says like, you're here to bring out the God colors of this world. And I just, as someone who loves color and who loves all the fun things, I just thought, how cool would it be to be like, and what you do is bringing out his colors through this world. Like, you help the world shine brighter and bolder and prettier when you shine the way that he's created you to shine, when you point and show his reflection on other things. And I was like, that's an incredible thought to think like, wow. And so in my life, me shining out is being fun, having freedom, pointing people to truth. I think one of the things that I'm really good at is listening to people and making them feel seen. And I think that's what the Father wants people to know, is like, you're known and seen and loved. And so even in something where I'm not bold and big and crazy, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, yeah, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sitting here you with in the season that it just sucks. It's horrible and it's hard, but I see you and you're not alone in that. I mean, something as simple as that is just shining so bright for him, because we're actually his hands and feet in real time with skin on kind of thing. And when we get to do that, we get to shine for him and bring out those colors.
That's so good. If you had to pick one color to represent you, what would that color be?
Well,
and why?
I have, well, I tell people my favorite color is pink. My hair is also pink. And then I'm like, and then the rainbow. Like, I love the rainbow. So I think pink is my favorite color. I don't know why. It just kind of happened in 9th grade. And then it just kind of went from there. It was my favorite. I dyed my hair pink after a big mission. I was like on a project. I was raising do you know this story, Em?
I do not know this story. Tell us the story. No,
okay.
I was literally about to ask, like, when did you go from non-pink to pink hair? So do tell.
Yeah. So it was about literally 12 years ago. So I've had pink hair for that long. Like, people are like, does it change colors? Do you do anything else? I was like, no, it's pink. It's pink. Back in the day, there's this thing called mommy bloggers, and so moms would like blog on the internet and, do things. That's what I did. I was a mommy blogger, and I would tell people about our lives and stuff. And I would also work with like brands and organizations and stuff. Well, I went to a blogging conference. This is actually how I met Jess Connolly, and we became friends.
I was going to say, you were a hardcore mommy blogger.
I was a hardcore mommy blogger. Because I was like, I need to be cool. What do you do when you're at home with these children? Many children. You tell the world
with
about
many children.
Many children. And so I was at a conference, and have you ever heard of the brand called Able, where they make like leather bags and they have clothing now and stuff?
Oh, no, yeah, I have, yeah.
Yeah, so back in the day, Barrett Ward was the president. I think he's kind of passed the baton on now, but they were doing something called purpose projects. So they actually work, it's a fair trade industry, and they work with people in Ethiopia to make these bags. And so like when you get a bag, there's a card on it with the person's name and their story and stuff. It's really cool. I love it. I love their bags and stuff. But he was talking about a thing called a purpose project. And what that was is picking 1 month to raise money for one of their 4 projects that they have to help with orphans, helping women out of the sex industry and things like that. And at the end of that month, if you met your goal, you'd do something fun that you've always wanted to do. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. It'll be my birthday month too that I'll pick. And so for that whole month, I will try to free 4 women from the sex industry. And what that was is they pulled them out of that industry. They got them health care. They helped them like with counseling, holistic care kind of deal. They taught them a trade and got them a job so they wouldn't need to go back. So it was kind of not like, we don't just get you off the streets. We're going to help you have a life and a future forward. And I was like, that would be so amazing. And at the time, my husband was in seminary to be a pastor. I had 4 children. And I was like, I've kind of always wanted to have pink hair. But what pastor's wife has pink hair? And I have 4 children. Like, none of that seems like an okay thing to do kind of deal. But I was like, but if I meet my goal and people were like, why do you have pink hair? And judgment, I'll be like, well, I have pink hair because 4 women are free now. Like, what can you say about that? You can't say anything about that.
People can't come back to that. Great excuse.
Right. So literally in 1 month's time, we were supposed to free 4 women. We actually doubled that and freed 8 women. Whoa. We raised like $3,600. It was so crazy. Wow. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get pink hair. And I thought, truthfully, it would look horrible. But I was like, I'm just going to try it because I've always wanted to. And my hairstylist dyed it pink. And we were like, oh, this is it. This is what you were always supposed to be.
Yes. You've been hiding.
Like, I have arrived. And there's still, like, people would ask me. I thought my parents would be upset about it and stuff just because they were uber conservative. But I've actually gone and spoken at my dad's church before, and the women are like, is she going to have pink hair? Like, is it going to be freshly dyed? Like, people love it. It's not been an issue. I get compliments all the time. My best friend is so annoyed when we go out in public together because people are like, I love your hair. I love your hair. And she's like, nobody talks about mine.
I just have, normal hair color.
Right. Yeah, it's stayed pink for that reason. Yeah.
That might be the reason I need to change my hair color. I get quite bored, and so like to change it from time to time, much to my husband's sadness, because he quite likes it how it is. And then I'm like, but I'm bored. I want to change it. And I learned the hard way that changing my hair by cutting it wasn't the way to go. I had a few interesting hairstyles over the years. Yeah, that was not good.
I feel that.
Now, with releasing books and book launches, something that people tend to only know if they're in the industry is the importance of pre-orders. But I happen to know that pre-ordering books is a very important thing. So do you want to just unpack for us why it's important and why it's not authors just getting, on a podium and being like, buy my book now, and because I can't wait for you to buy it later, but that it actually does matter to support messages and authors that we want to see get out there to pre-order books?
Yeah, so pre-order is a way for book industries and like places like Barnes and Noble, Target, even Amazon to know what the demand is going to be like. So when they start seeing people put orders in, they're like, oh shoot, we need to stock this book. It's going to be a big deal and we need to have that on hand. Because if not, like, so say Amazon, they'll request so many from my publisher and have it there. I've run out a time or two on Amazon with my current book. Well, then they have to get more in kind of deal. And so you want them to have a lot on hand. So when you order, you get that fast delivery or it sends it out. So this just tells people, this is a voice we want to hear. This is a message we believe in. Would you please have it ready for people to have there? It also helps the publisher to know, like, okay, this is something we need to put some weight behind. We need to bring up an ads and let's put sales behind this. Let's do this because the crowd wants it and needs it. I can believe in it all I want. I can put my blood, sweat, and tears behind it, which I have done. But I need people out there to say, you know what? I do think this is important. Maybe we should pre-order this book. And you will wait and you will get it on the day that it's released. But it shows the rest of the world like this matters. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. And so here's my follow-up question. If there's a youth pastor or a youth leader or someone who happens to know a whole bunch of teens and wants to be able to get a collection of glow-up books so that maybe they can read it in their youth group or they can kind of support each other and just... I really believe that this is a message that our young people need to know. Like the number of adults that you and I have both encountered who are stuck and held back and trapped and made to feel small because their thinking is not lining up with who God says they are and his truth. It would be amazing, as you say, to save a whole generation from getting into their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and even beyond, even into their 60s, 70s and 80s. If you've not learned how to be able to harness your thoughts and surrender them to God and to believe true things about you, as opposed to get in these cycle loops of negativity that just pull you down, how amazing. And as you say, our young people are going to change the world. There's a song, a really classic Christian worship song that lots of churches around the world sing. And on one of the verses, it says, I see a generation rising up with selfless faith. And I just see that for this next generation, that they can rise up, they can roar, they can shine, they can be the fireworks in the sky, they can bring out the God colors in the world. But they will be able to do it so much more easily if they learn these truths and these skills and how to flip the script now, how to harness their thoughts and submit them to Christ. So if there's somebody going, yeah, I caught this vision, I get it, I want to see young people set free, I want to buy books for all the young people in my church, how best can they get in touch with you, I'm guessing, to be able to put in a larger order than just like the odd one or two through Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever it might be?
Yeah, so we can link my email in the show notes and stuff, but basically they just email me and you can get a 40% discount off the book. If you grab 20 or more, my publishers will send them out. I think honestly, that's kind of my deal is I want to speak in youth groups. I want to pass out books. I want to give them free on the streets. Like that, I care less about the cost of them and more about this message needs to be in your hands. Like this is absolutely so important and life-changing. So I'm doing something personally where if you buy a certain amount of books, I'll come speak at your church or your organization or your event for free. Like, so there's no speaker fee. I would love to come speak and you can pass these books out.
I love that.
If you buy 5 or more books, I have a study guide to go through it. So say you're an adult and you're like, I know 5 kids that need this message and I want to walk through it with them. Great. I've got a step-by-step thing for what you need to do and how you can lead them through a group study. That's also like with the youth group. So if a youth pastor's like, I'm going to order 20 books or whatever, cool, let me send you the study guide too. So maybe you can break it into smaller groups and they can walk through that as well. My goal is to help as many people go through this together as possible, knowing that it's actually better for a group to read it together than one person. And so that's my goal.
They can call each other out.
One person, great. But I'm here for the many.
Yeah. And because when you do it with others, you see in each other and you pick up and you hear things like you're saying your kids in your home will call each other out and you'll call you and your husband out for saying, hey, do we need to flip the script on that? Because sometimes we're so ingrained in us that we don't even notice that we're speaking like these negative and dumbing things over our own lives. So to have youth groups who can then teach the adults in the church, like I love it when a young person is bringing revelation and just fresh inspiration and access to who God is in church settings, because we have so much we can learn from them. So as mentioned, we'll pop your email address in the show notes. For someone who wants to connect with you on social media or like just see the pink hair and follow along, like where's the best place for them to go?
Well, on all social media platforms, I'm Brittany Estes, and you can find me. If you see the pink hair girl, that would be me. I'm the one with all the color. But I love hanging out on Instagram. I dabble some in TikTok, but yeah, those are the ways to find me.
Amazing. Brittany, I did not ask this beforehand if you'd be happy, but would you pray for our listeners and for those who maybe need to learn how to flip the script in their lives as a way of closing this episode out?
Yes, I would love to. Jesus, I just thank you for the listener today. I thank you for the conversation that we've had and in myself, God. But I pray that today you would help this person understand what you say about them, who you call them, and how you've created them to shine. I pray that they would see the areas of their life that they're believing that they're less than, that they are dulling their existence, that they are walking out or hiding in spaces that you have called them to shine bright. And so I pray that today they would see a glimpse of that you would be with them. And in Psalms, we hear about your wraparound presence. And so I'm praying that today they would feel your wraparound presence with them, holding them up, whether their life is hard, they're stepping into a hard season, whatever it may be, God, that you would show them who you call them to be and that they would shine bright in those places, in those spaces, God, and their freedom would allow others to be free as well. So I thank you for the work that you're going to do in their lives, for the joy that you're going to bring, for the scripts that they're going to be able to flip, God, because you want your truth to reign brighter and bolder and louder than anything else. And so I thank you for the time that they've spent here and the truth that they're going to live in. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Brittany, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you for having me again. I'm so excited.
Thanks for tuning in to Grow and Go. I would love to connect with you on Instagram. Find me at Hello M Tyler. That's Hello EMTYLER. And let me know what encouraged you today. If this episode blessed you, please take a moment to share it with a friend or leave a quick review. These things really do help others discover the podcast. But until next time, keep growing and going.